Hey everybody, welcome. This is Hipster George Washington. So, this video we're going to go over building a very bare bones basic REST API. And so we're going to show just using Flask, just using the bare bones Flask. We're not going to do any sort of database. We're just going to manipulate a list, and we're going to add founding fathers to a list of founding fathers called Patriots in celebration of not 4th of July, I call it Independence Day, coming up on, technically I call it July 2nd, but most people celebrate it on July 4th. All these founding fathers like the original hipster George Washington and his friends went and fought for our independence and put their lives on the line. So you can see we're going to do post requests where we can add a new founding father to a list. We can see we can add Caesar Rodney to a list of our founding fathers, and we can get the information from, I have it here somewhere, from our REST API. And we can do get post, and eventually you'll learn to do put and delete. I don't show that in this video just for the sake of time, but it's going to show you basically how to use the same logic just to update and delete information from a REST API, which again, I'm assuming that you have the basic knowledge of a REST API, basic knowledge of Python, basic knowledge of Flask. If not, I have previous videos. Let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. Okay, so we're gonna make our Patriots API. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have essentially a list of our founding fathers, and because we're here in celebration of Independence Day. Real Independence Day, by the way, is on July 2nd, but we celebrate it on July 4th because July 2nd is whenever they actually voted to approve the Declaration of Independence. But that's aside the point of us actually trying to go and show off how to do just the bare bone basic Flask RESTful API. Now, there's a ton of packages out there that will help you build an actual API that will do things like JWT authentication and make it way easier to actually get the information from the client, things like that. But before you run, you want to learn to walk. And I am going into this assuming that you understand the basics of what a REST API is, but just not how to build them with Flask syntax. So if that's you, this is the video for you. If none of that made sense, maybe this is above your grade level. If you already know all this stuff, maybe it's below your grade level. Either way, feel free to skip it. But if you found any of this helpful, please let me know. So again, we're just going to do this with only Flask. The only other thing I have installed here in my virtual environment, if we do pip freeze, we have Flask. All these are friends of Flask except for the request package. So this I pip installed request, and that's going to help us actually hit the client as the, hit the server as the client. So we're going to actually build our server, then we're going to come over here, and then we're going to simulate a client hitting an API here in this terminal right here. So that's the only reason I have this installed. All these are friend packages of one of those two. So if you want to get started, again, like I'm assuming that you've either watched some of my previous videos on Flask or you have enough understanding to understand what's going on, along with virtual environments. So we've activated our virtual environment. We said pip install Flask, pip install requests, and then we have an app.py, and we just have the basic Flask app here ready to go. We're going to hit our app.route here. We're going to start out with that, but we're not going to do a default slash because we're building a REST API. So we're just going to have everything be /API/something. Now I'm only going to take the time to build one route for this one. We're going to call it Patriots. In future videos, we might go over how to build like an even more fleshed out one. But we want to be able to go to this route with a get request and get the list of founding fathers. We want to be able to add a founding father with post requests, do put and delete as well. Now I'm not going to show doing put and delete in this video just because it's going to take too long. But it's going to be basically a very similar process to doing a post request, which I am going to show. So if we don't want just get here with our request methods, you can add a second argument here called methods equals, and then you have to do a list. Even if you do just get or just post, you have to do a list, and then you have to list out as strings the name of the methods that you want to accept. So we do want to accept get. We want to accept post. I'm going to go ahead and accept put and delete, even though we're not going to show those in this video. And then here in our view function, we're going to call this Patriots as well, and then we're going to return stuff. But how do we return based on the just going to do true so we don't get an error. How do we do it based off of the method? Well, we can get that just off of the requests object that comes with every Flask request inside of a view function. And off of this object, we can do some sort of logic off of the request.method. This is going to give us a string of the method type. So if we say if request.method double equals get, we're going to do one thing. Else if request.method double equals post. Here, let me go and put a colon there. We're going to put a colon here. We can return another thing. We can just do, we're going to leave the put and delete here, but you would just continue on and on doing this. So we have to have something to return. Now, in most practical applications, you're going to use some sort of a database or some sort of a permanent data structure. Now that's out of the scope of this video because I just want to show the syntax for actually doing this API. Mainly you getting the methods, differentiating the methods with an if statement, and then we're going to show how to use the JSONify function, which we showed briefly in a previous video. Now Flask doesn't like having variables outside of a view function that it can then interact with that aren't actually part of like the Flask ecosystem, for lack of a better term. So we're going to create a variable inside of our function that, again, this is not the way that you're going to do it in a real world application. We're just doing this for just a very simple, explanation here. And we're going to have a list of dictionaries. So we're going to say Patriots is going to be the name of our list, and then our dictionaries, and then inside it, we're going to have a dictionary for each founding father. And each founding father will have a name. And so we can do our good old hipster George Washington or non-hipster George Washington, the OG. Why can't I spell that right? He fought for freedom before it was cool. Now every founding father has a state, so we're going to have Virginia is his state. His birth year, which I totally didn't just Google to make sure it was 1732, is 1732. Then we can do another founding father, so we'll do Thomas Jefferson. And of course, you can put whatever information in this you want for your examples if you don't want to follow along, which is totally fine. Virginia. And he was born with the birth year of, that I totally should know off the top of my head. I'm going to say 1735. 1743. I was off. It's off by quite a bit. I mean, not that far, but okay. So we have 1743. One last one we have here. We'll do John Adams, and we're not going to do Alexander Hamilton because he was by far the worst founding father. Lecture for why in another video. Oh gosh, how do I spell Massachusetts? Oh my god. Now I'm just Googling to figure out what his birth year was, not because I don't know how to spell Massachusetts. How do you spell Massachusetts? It just says M-A. Can you tell me how to spell it? How do you spell Massachusetts? M-A-S-S-A-C. Oh my gosh, who came up with this name? M-A-S-S-A-C-H-U-S-E. Was I close? M-A-S-S-A-C-H-U-S-E-T-T-S. Oh, I was so close. Okay, it's still really tough. And he was born in 1735. Let's just say I was swapping Jefferson's birth year for his. Let's say 1735. So we have our founding fathers here in a list of dictionaries that we need to be able to turn into JSON information. So whenever you go and you do a GET request to some sort of a, for lack of a better term, resource is what I've heard it called in some videos out there and some tutorials out there of a REST API. If you do a GET request to it, it's going to return you that information that you want. So if we hit API/Patriots, we want to return the Patriots, but we can't return the Patriots because this is not a proper return type. So what we have to do is use our JSONify function that we briefly showed off in the previous video and JSONify is a function that we will include our patriots in, and then it will serialize it to some sort of a JSON object that then we can go here. I actually can show the GET request here in this in the browser, so we actually are going to show it here. We're going to say port 5000 / API / patriots. We are not running our server. Let's run our server. Let's run it with debug turned on. Let's try it again. And then you can see we now got the information here as JSON. But let's go and just go ahead and show how to do it with the requests package, not the request function in Flask up here, the requests plural package. So I'm going to run Python in the REPL. So I'm going to say python-i. And we're in the virtual environment. Do I even have to do -i? I think I can just do Python. Yeah, okay. And then we can import requests, which is not part of the standard library. I never understood why you do have to do pip install requests. But now what we can do is we can actually reach out to some sort of a resource on the internet. And so I'm going to save this, what we're about to do, to a variable called results. And so out of the request library, we're going to do get.get is the function. And then here is a string you're going to put your URL. So we're going to say http://localhost port 5000 /API / patriots. And now what we can do, you can see down here, we just actually got the request showing up. So here we can see what we got. You see we got a response 200. And we got it as JSON, so we can actually go and decode the JSON here, and we see it's a list of dictionaries, or a list of JSON objects, right? Or an array, I think is probably what it's called in JSON, since it's based on JavaScript, I think. But you can see we have our George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams. Notice like these are not in the same order, because objects in JavaScript are not ordered by default. But they are in Python, which is just an interesting tidbit. So you're going to see these things swapped around, but it doesn't really matter because the purpose of both an object and a dictionary in the specific circumstances, you're going to find the information based on the key because they're key value pairs. So this is how we want to go and get the information. So if we want to do a post where we add a new patriot to our list, what we have to do, we have to be able to go here and then like create some sort of new patriot. And then we want to add the information. We want it to match the same. So we want to have a state, a name, and a birth year. We'll get back to this in a second, actually. So let's go and figure out how to get that information from the client. So the client's going to do a post request, and they're going to have it be a JavaScript. They're going to send it as JavaScript. So we need to go and do request singular.json. Did I say JavaScript? It's JavaScript object notation, so I keep saying JavaScript, but I mean JSON. And we're going to go and debug that. That's going to return us now as a Python dictionary, right? So it's the inverse of a JSONify. So we're going to do request.json. Then we can save this to something. I'm just going to call it data equals this. And now this is going to be a new dictionary because we're going to send it as one singular dictionary of the new founding father we want to add to our list of patriots. And so we have our patriots list. Let's just call this new patriot here as well. And so their name is going to be equal to the name key inside our data object or our data dictionary. We'll have state. And we will have a birth year. Keep wanting to say birthday, it's birth year. And now we have this new Patriot dictionary here that we can now add to our object, or I'm sorry, our list of, man, all these terms, I just keep mixing them up in my head, to our list of dictionaries called Patriots. So we're going to say patriots.append the new Patriot that we just got from the client. And so then this list will then temporarily, when this function's being run. Now, if you think about it, local variables are going to reset every time that the function gets called. So that's the reason that this isn't going to be permanent. It's only going to work for the one time this function runs. And then if we do 2 post requests, you're going to see this list is going to get reset. So that's the problem without us doing some sort of a permanent data structure, like a dictionary or a database or something like that. But again, like we're going to add our new Patriot, and then what we're going to return, let's just return the Patriots list again. So we're just going to do the exact same return as the get, but we're just going to show the new list now that the Patriot has been added, the new one. So again, we're getting here. Let's do some space here so we can actually separate these two methods. So we're going to get the JSON. We're going to save it to data. We're going to, out of that data, get the name, state, and birth year. We're going to make a dictionary out of it. We're going to append it to our list of dictionaries, and we're going to return the now updated list. So using the requests library here on our client, terminal is what it's acting as, we can now make a new founding father. So we have a dictionary. We'll give him a name, and let's do Caesar Rodney. So we're going to say Caesar Rodney. Again, we're not doing Alexander Hamilton because he was the worst. State, he was Delaware. I'm pretty sure he was Delaware. I don't know his birth year, so we're going to have to Google that. Keep wanting to say birthday. We're going to say birth year. And then we can also double check that he is Delaware. So we can say Caesar Rodney, 1728 in Delaware. Look at that, 1728. So he's even older than George Washington, 1728. And then you can see we have our new dictionary saved here. And the way that we're going to pass that in is, let's do another request dot something. So instead dot get, we're going to do dot post. Now this is going to give us a result as well. So we're actually just going to overwrite this results variable. We're going to say results equals request dot post. Now it's going to be to the same. It's going to be to the same URL. So we're going to say // localhost port 5000 /API /patriots. Now what we're going to do is we're going to send as a JSON argument it's going to turn this Python information into JSON, just like it's just JSONify, but for a different package is essentially what it is. So we're going to send in the new Patriot, and now this is going to get turned into JSON. It's going to go to our /patriots as a post request. This function is going to say it's not get, but it is post. It's going to take that JSON, turn it into, so we're going from Python to JSON to Python, and that's going to append it to the list, and then we're going to get the new Patriots. So it should work first try. Oops, there we go. We want this. So we're going to add Caesar Rodney. Let's see if I messed up. First try. I messed up something. What did I mess up? Request.json. Request.json. Okay. Request.getJSON. That's it. That was my bad. I should have remembered that. So it's, sorry, for this one, it's not .json, it's .getJSON. So that's only for Flask. So for Flask, out of the request object, request singular object in Flask, do getJSON. Here, when you're sending it in, it's just JSON. And it's also just JSON here as well. So again, this is the request library as opposed to Flask. It's just slightly different syntax. Okay, let's try it one more time. Look at that. We sent back a 200. Oh my gosh, I keep clicking on Firefox. Let's look at our results. Get a response 200. Let's do JSON. Would you look at that? So we have George Washington, we have Thomas Jefferson, we have John Adams, and we have Caesar Rodney added to our founding fathers list, our list of patriots. All right, so let's try it again. And I'm going to prove, just because we still only have one Caesar Rodney. The only reason that happens is because this list again gets reset every time this function runs because of local variables. So that's just a quirk of this sort of hacky way to demonstrate what I wanted to demonstrate, which again was not actually building a real full CRUD REST system. So I'll do that in future videos where we implement SQL Alchemy or something like that to make it permanent. But I just wanted to show this syntax of adding the methods, differentiating between the methods, and then using the request library to go and send information, and then using the it's .getJSON to uncode the JSON, and it's JSONify to recode it or turn it into JSON. So
And you can see even I got mixed up while I was trying to demonstrate it, even though I practiced this beforehand and I still messed it up a couple of times. But regardless, hopefully you found this video very helpful. I hope you all have a great Independence Day. Be safe out there and celebrate our independence and our freedom. And thankful to all these founding fathers that put their lives on the line for our freedom. So hope you all have a good one, and we'll see you in the next one. Later.